Hi, Math 20. Welcome back to another lesson. We're on lesson 4.4, determining volume. Basically, this lesson is just building on the volume problems that you're doing in the last lessons and going on just to some new questions, some new types of things, not quite composite shapes, but some other things we have to look at to determine volume. So let's go ahead and get right started. Try this. Each side length, diameter, and height of these objects is 1 centimeter. So list the name of these objects in order from least to greatest volume. Think about the formulas that you know and work through which one all of these are. You should have all of these on your formula sheet. So just look at what the formula is and it should be able to just help you think through which one's going to be the biggest volume, which one's going to be the smallest. So go ahead and work that one through. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so the volume of this workbook, so that's literally this workbook we're working on right now. So what type of object is this workbook? This workbook's a rectangular prism. All right, it's rectangular and it's a prism. So this is one that you should be pretty familiar with by now. Measure its dimensions. Just old school, grab a ruler, measure its dimensions, and notice it's asking you for its metric dimensions in millimeters. So when you measure this through in millimeters, you should come up with 275 millimeters by 212 millimeters with a height. So that's your actual height of the book is 15 millimeters. It could be measure yours. You might come up with something different depending on what edition of the book you have. It might print a little bit different slightly. But you should have something fairly close to this. So volume, we know that the volume is simply length times width times height. So our length is 275 millimeters. Our width is 212 and our height is 15. So on a calculator, work those through and you should have 874,500 millimeters cubed. Remember that's cubed because we've done 1, 2, 3 times that we've times those units together. Now we're looking at a little bit more specific of a problem. So we've got these DVDs. It's a stack of DVDs. So it's already been measured. So there's 25 DVDs in the stack. So Tabitha measured that each DVD is 1.2 millimeters thick. So that's how thick it is there. Now it's just asking you what tools could Tabitha have used to measure the dimensions of a DVD. You've got a typical ruler stick, 1.2 millimeters is going to be a little tricky. I don't know that they've gone through much in this book what some of those are. You can see them if you look at the next page. There's some pictures of some specific measuring tools, but that might be a caliper. She might have used a micrometer. There's different tools that you can use that are more precise, just to know that this question just wants you to know that there's ways of measuring more precision than with just a plain ruler. What's the volume of one DVD? They've already given you the formula. I want you to think about this. You know that this is a cylinder. They've given you the formula for a cylinder, and they've given you the outer and the inner radiuses. Essentially, it's like the composite shapes that you've done in the last lesson, but you're cutting out a cylinder from the middle of this DVD here. So this inner cylinder is coming out of it, and you're left with just what's on that outside shape. So you've got pi, radius of the outer. So this is the entire thing. You're doing this entire circle, and then you'll do the inner circle. So radius, now remember, this is 120, but this is the diameter. So 120 in half for the radius, 60 millimeters. We're going to square that times the height, and they've given us the height of 1.2 millimeters. And then we're going to subtract this inner cylinder here. So the radius of that inner cylinder is 15 millimeters was the diameter. So half of that, 7.5, times, again, it's got the same height, 1.2. So work that through on your calculator and you should come up with, it's going to be quite a long number. And remember, try to keep your units in there as much as you can. 13,571.68. 0, and there's going to be a fair bit after that, minus 212.057, and quite a bit after that. It's just going to keep going. If you do that as two separate numbers on your calculator, just try to keep a good number, 3 3 is a good number to think about in terms of units after the decimal. Don't round until you get to your final number. Obviously, you're not going to punch out 12, 14 units, right? But if you have a calculator that allows you to put in the entire formula at once, that's going to be your more precise way to do it. And in the end, once you subtract that, you're going to be left with 13,359.622 millimeters cubed. So that's going to be the volume, but remember, that's one DVD still. So don't forget to solve the whole way through. So it's asking you for 25 DVDs. Sorry. All right, we'll just not worry about that. What is the volume of the stack of 25 DVDs? So you're going to have 25 times. Again, keep your most precision. Just use this number that you solved in your calculator and times that by 25 right away rather than clear that number out. So 25 times that number, the 13,359.622. And in the end, you're going to have, it's going to be around 333,990. And depending on how much you left on decimal, probably like 5, 6, 9, you'll have rounded that in there. And now that you've got your final, and that's millimeters cubed. We now have our answer in millimeters cubed, and it's asking us to convert it to centimeters cubed. Important to remember that you can't convert because it's cubed. You can't convert it with the one step millimeter to centimeter, how we would do good King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. We've talked about that a lot before. Because they're cubed, there is formulas in the back of your workbook, but they actually don't say what the conversion is from centimeters cubed to millimeters cubed. You might know that already from working in this, but basically 1 centimeter cubed is equal to 1,000 millimeters cubed. I would recommend writing that down in your workbook just so you have this to reference to. Now we can make the conversion over to what we need to in terms of how many centimeters cubed this is. Remember that you can look at this and go, okay, there are 3 zeros in this case, so I have to move my decimal point 3. Because I'm going from millimeters to centimeters, I have to move my decimal point to the left. My number's getting smaller, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over. I'll be left with 333.99 centimeters cubed. So the volume is centimeters cubed to the nearest cubic centimeter. So I'm going to round up to the nearest cubic centimeter, 334 centimeters cubed. All right, so that's everything for this lesson. If you've got any questions, please get a hold of me. Otherwise, go on. It's going to ask you some questions, just thinking about the tools that we talked about briefly and doing some practice questions. If you have any trouble, get a hold of me and I'm here to help you out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson.